You're listening to the Fit Bottom Girls podcast, the only podcast for active, athletic, and adventurous women and those who aspire to be. We've got your back as you navigate the ups and the downs of motherhood, midlife, and menopause. I'm your host, Alison Heilig, here to remind you that female isn't fragile. I'm a strength, conditioning, and nutrition coach who's trained hundreds of women to achieve their goals to get fit, lift heavy, go the distance, and feel like a badass in every area of their lives. Each week, you'll hear from me and some of our awesome guests as we educate and empower you during each stage of your fitness journey, whether you're already crushing it, fighting to get back out there, or starting from day one. So friends, let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fit Bottom Girls podcast. Today's episode is part 2 of my conversation with former owners of FBG, Jen Walters and Kristen Seymour. In part 1 of this conversation, we reminisced about how it all began and how they arrived at a place where they felt their time at the helm of FBG was over. In this episode, we bring the story, as Jen would say, full circle by talking about why they felt Alison, me, was the right person to lead FBG into the future. I also share a bit about what's in store in this next era of FBG. So let's get back to our conversation. So we've been talking about past and present, largely for the benefit of new followers, new audience that we might be capturing here. And for those of you that are listening that are OG FBGs, who is Alison Heilig might be a question. So a little bit about my history coming into Fit Bottom Girls. As I mentioned, I was a fangirl of Fit Bottom Girls for a number of years as somebody who liked to do workout videos at home. And I looked to Fit Bottom Girls as a resource that were vetting the landscape of things. I too was a huge Bob Harper fan. It led me to Jen and following along for the no bullshit. And I wasn't at the time invested in eliminating diet culture from my vocabulary or life. But what I remember, it was just a nice change of pace from what everybody else was saying, that for a few moments out of the day, I could let it be about what makes me feel good, what makes me feel strong, what makes me feel confident and powerful versus what makes me burn the most calories. When I was reading your content, it was really about what is this exercise doing for me, not just physically, but also mentally, emotionally, and in terms of my body image and things like that. So in 2015, I quit my job. I was working in a global Fortune 500 company in the law department. It was 12 years into my legal career. And
Allie, I remember the day that you quit too. I remember that so clearly. And I celebrated so big in my little desk there with you.
Here's the fun part about all of that. This weekend, 9 years ago, so we're recording this on Labor Day weekend, 2024. This was the weekend that I was done. Yeah. 9 years ago, almost to the day, almost to the day was the day that I walked out of my corporate job and into, I don't know what. I just knew that I didn't want to work in corporate legal anymore. I wanted to do something that really, I was 35 and I was thinking, this can't be it. And I was at all the places I had envisioned myself being really healthy and happy. And it was like, no, I got shingles at age 34 and ended up in the emergency room because of the stress levels. This cannot be where I've spent my whole life trying to get. And I was coaching people on the side because I had a hip fracture on my 30th birthday that took me out of running for a year. And it taught me a lot of really good lessons about how to take care of my body. And so I started helping other people with that. So I was working like 1,000 hours a week at my job. And then I was like coaching people, and I was really passionate about helping people change their lives and to feel strong and powerful and badass and not let themselves be limited by their aches and pains and the stories they tell themselves about who they are. And I decided one day, I remember I was standing in my closet getting ready for work, and I had been wrestling with this decision of, it's slowly driving me insane. I'm doing all of this, like trying to do all of this stuff and be the good employee. And I'm over here trying to do all this stuff and help people. And I remember standing in my closet, and it was just like something fell off the shelf and hit me in the head. And it was like, I'm ready. It's time to be brave. 9 years ago, almost to the day of today when we're recording this, I walked out and I never went back. And prior to that point, I had interviewed Jen for an article about the pregnancy with your daughter, your daughter. That's how I ran into Jen. I was like, oh my God, this is like a total fangirl moment. I'm like interviewing somebody that I just respect so much. I was doing some freelance writing before I quit my job. And it was like 3 days after I was done with my corporate job that Jen, I have the email up here in front of me, actually. I pulled it out September 24th, 2015.
You were such a cool fangirl. If you were a fangirl, I had no idea. I was just like, this chick is awesome.
And Jen reached out, and that was in 2015. And then until 2020, I was writing for Fit Bottom Girls, 152 posts. I just looked it up the other day to see how many I wrote. And in that time period, I was building my business, Miles to Go Athletics. I set it up in 2014 in November, so almost 10 years ago. And it really has become this online strength conditioning, endurance, nutrition coaching for active, athletic, and adventurous women, and those who aspire to be, of course. And as time was going on, I, like Kristen, started to experience some changes. And those changes were not what I was expecting. When we hear rumblings of perimenopause, it's like hot flashes and missed periods or infrequent periods. My first brushes with perimenopause were crippling anxiety and soul-crushing depression. And came at 42. I had no idea that was going to happen. And nobody was preparing me for this. And it just really felt like I was losing my mind. And as I started to dig and I started to get educated because my clients were getting older as well, you talk about how you had these moments of seeing that things were changing. And I saw it along with you that things were definitely changing. But where things weren't changing was talking about women's aging. And it was like women are, as they get older, are frail and you should do low impact and low intensity everything. And you should not eat carbs. And Kristen and you and I have had this conversation too. It's just like the way that we were being spoken to, even when you start to have more aches and pains, because, oh, by the way, that's a side effect of perimenopause too. More joint pain, more tendon stiffness, that we're just told, hey, just stop doing the things you love then. How about you just sit over here on the sidelines because you're getting old?
The doctor literally told me that, and we had this call right after that appointment. The orthopedic surgeon literally told me when I went in with knee pain due to patellar arthritis, well, that's the reason the Americans with Disabilities Act exists. You don't have to climb stairs. You just start buying furniture with higher seats and with arms so you can help push yourself up. And if you live in a house with stairs, you should move somewhere else. Where I went in saying I'd like to get back to running or at least to hiking with confidence. And he was like, I laughed at first when he said it, and he was 100% serious.
Yeah.
I don't go to him anymore, for the record.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And then we wonder why the main killers of women are cardiovascular disease. Because like, oh, you're getting old, you might as well not do things that keep your heart healthy. And then fractures from falls accelerates the mortality in women when they fall. And so many women are falling and breaking hips. And the messaging is so fucked up. Like, we're getting older. So instead of empowering us with information that will help us to deal with the changes in our body and delay the onset of needing to be in a wheelchair, that you're just like, no, you should just surrender to it. It's just the way it is. And my whole career in health and fitness has been around dismantling the idea that this is just part of who you are and just something that's going to happen as you get older. So I was really not about to take it in this phase of my life or to let women around me believe these things. So I dove into menopause education and women's fitness and coaching and the Girls Gone Strong stuff. I've been through all of that. I went through Stacey Sims' work, took her courses, and I've really dove headfirst into it because I saw that this was the next frontier of dealing with diet culture and dealing with systemic sexism. And a lot of the things that I do think have changed for women under the age of 35 hasn't reached the women over 35 yet. Those women are still very much enduring these toxic messages. And so it was July 27th, 2023, when you sent an email to me, caught me off guard. And you presented this opportunity. And I remember reading the email and my jaw was on the floor. And then I was like, no. And it took me 25 hours to respond because I was having a conversation with my husband in the kitchen. And I was like, I got this amazing opportunity, but I'm going to say no. And he was like, all right, let me hear about it. So I told him, he's like, well, that's amazing that they thought of you. You should at least be having this moment of feeling validated that the work you're putting out there in the world is having the desired effect. And I was like, yes, I feel really good about this. But the answer's still no. But I decided to hear you out. And I think I was very honest. And I actually said that I don't know the first thing about running a successful blog, but I'd love to chat with you guys. And I'm open to hearing what you have to say. And I remember I pushed back our meeting for 2 weeks so I could think about it. And in that time, I was really thinking about, what do I have to add? Because I hadn't talked to you guys yet. So I didn't know that you were at this place where you were like, we feel like we've done what we set out to do, and we don't feel like we're the right people to take it forward. Right? I only got a little bit of that, like, hey, we're looking for a place. So in that time period, I was like, what would it take for me to say yes to this opportunity? And when I opened myself up to hearing and just think about it. And I think there's something to be said about going with your gut. Mm-hmm. But I also think a lot of what I was feeling was like imposter syndrome. I don't know how to do this. It was my own limiting beliefs. As I opened myself up to the possibility and the potential that there could be something beyond those limiting beliefs, I started to think about, and I think when we had our first call, it was really about, this is what I think I could bring to the table. This is where I'm at. And I'm tired of women being told, just sit over here on the sidelines and just watch the rest of your life go by. The landscape that I saw as a 43-year-old woman at the time, it was sad. Like, it was depressing. No wonder people don't want to get old, when in reality, getting old is a gift that not everybody gets. And the imagery and the way people talk about women's aging bodies, it was all just making me really sad. And I'm like, this is a place that I think that I could come in and have an impact. And you guys were like, yes, that's exactly what we're thinking.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Works for us.
I left that conversation so excited about Fit Bottom Girls, but like personally, I was so empowered, and I was just like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, I know what the beginnings of FBG felt like, when it was like, this is the need that needs to be met. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a reader. Like, and now I'm your fangirl.
Hey, you. I wanted to press pause on this episode for a second to talk about your fitness goals. You know, those sweet dreams of being more active and feeling athletic and confident and doing epic, adventurous shit. Or maybe you just feel like you're getting older, because we're all getting older. And you, like me, never want to give up on carrying all the groceries into the house in one shot, or picking up that heavy Amazon box without worrying that you're going to throw your back out. I know you're busy. You're probably listening to this episode while multitasking. Oh yeah, I'm on to you. And the biggest thing that's stopping you from getting strong and fit is knowing how to use your workout time most effectively. Like exactly which exercises are worth your time, when to do them, and the number of sets and reps to get to your goals. You've probably also tried other fitness apps and programs out there, only to feel like they weren't right for your needs. You want a program that has it all: strength, power, cardio, mobility, and recovery, all built right in without spending your whole life in the gym. And you want experienced coaches around to answer your questions, and a community at your back to help you stay motivated and inspired. Look, I've been coaching women for a long time now, and the truth is that you don't need another fad diet or complicated, time-consuming workout routine to support you as you age. You just need to train smarter with simple, progressive workouts and a plan that's designed for your body and your life, whether you're navigating motherhood, midlife, or menopause. And if this sounds like exactly what you've been missing, I invite you to join Stronger 365, a progressive strength, power, and conditioning training membership for women like you who are ready to stop winging it and take their training to the next level with more structure and support. And the best part? This program has 3 different options, so you can choose your own fitness adventure based on your goals, how much time you have to train, and what equipment you have, whether you've got access to a full gym or, like me, work out at home. And it's run by me, Alison Heilig, and my awesome team at Miles to Go Athletics. Head over to the show notes for all the details and to join our membership community. And as an FBG, your first 2 weeks are on me. And now, Let's get back to the episode. From that point, it was a whirlwind. I worked, for those who don't know, I worked in legal for 12 years, but for 4 of them, I was negotiating contracts. And I've never had a contract negotiation be that friendly. We were looking out for each other. We were having really open, honest, and transparent conversations. We were going through different scenarios and being really thoughtful of each other. And Jen, you know all the ways this could go wrong. And you were like, hey, what about this? And it didn't necessarily work in your favor to tell me that, change the deal slightly. But we were able to navigate this transition, this legal handover so beautifully. I mean, yeah, it was a dream.
Like, it was lovely. And I don't think those are not words that people use for anything of this kind.
It was a pleasure to go through this process and just be at the end of it to be able to celebrate together. And we all feel like we got what we needed from this. And no one feels like they got railroaded along the way. It was the most civilized contract negotiation I've ever seen in my life. Thinking ahead to the future, this conversation really lays the foundation for what it is that I see the future really being is a continuation, because women's lives don't end at 35. And I feel like leaving the site in that place perpetuates that message. Like, you have your kids, and then
yeah.
So I'm really pumped and excited about continuing the vision, the mission of Fit Bottom Girls in a way that honors its roots and that really acknowledges that a lot of the work that we've done up to this point still remains to be done in this one area. And really, to Jen's point, to bringing things full circle, we can't leave that circle just hanging open. There is a place for Fit Bottom Girls moving forward. And we even had the conversation about the name, Fit Bottom Girls. And it was like, no, leave it, because I'm all for girlhood. I want women to jump back into that playfulness and have fun with their lives that they've worked so hard to create, and to feel like the next decades of their life can be positive and feel empowered and educated around the changes that are going to happen in a way that's not meant to sell them shit they don't need.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I love that you opted to include the podcast in the plan going forward, because that was not necessarily, a podcast is not a small undertaking, and it's not always the most sound business decision. Hat tip to Margot Donahue, a Brooklyn Fit Chick, who was the impetus for us starting our podcast when we did.
Yeah.
For the record, I wanted nothing to do with it.
You really did.
I was so resistant. And some of those conversations were among my favorite memories. But I think that with what you want to do and with what we want to see you do, the opportunity to have those conversations with people in a real way like this, and to bring more of those voices together to share in a way that is really easy for people to access and to choose where they want to take their adventure, is really important. And I'm just so delighted that you haven't just taken the reins, but you've taken the reins and given the whole carriage a makeover. It's fantastic. And we're so proud of you and of what you're doing.
My vision for the podcast too is really to bring on people that are really passionate about the things that they're working on. I really want to get more information out to women so that they're not just taking this bullshit that they're being fed, that they have to just suck it up and accept it. But I also do want to have real conversations with women about their experiences, because it is about the community. It is about the connection. It is about not feeling like you're so alone in what you're going through, because people are saying perimenopause more and are talking more about these symptoms. But that doesn't mean those are reaching everyone. There are still a lot of women who don't know what's going on, and they don't know where to turn, and they're not getting good information. There needs to be a place that has a long history of being unbiased and really following this mission of empowering and educating women. And this platform that you all have created is the reason why I'm going to be able to do that. Because I wouldn't have started a podcast on my own. Like you said, it's no small undertaking. So starting one from zero is not something I want to do at this stage in my life, but you have laid this foundation. I feel really blessed to have it now, to be able to say, okay, so what is next? And to be able to reach more women like us who are just like, what's next too? That's a great question. Let's talk about what's next. And let's talk about it in a way that's not so filled with shame and female fragility and taboo. We can't talk about it. Like, I'm tired of my clients coming to me going, this might be too much information, or then they say something about their period or something about bladder leakage during a workout. I'm like, this is not too much information. We should be able to talk about this.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about where people who are listening can expect this all to go. And I think that does bring us pretty much full circle, right, Jen? Yeah. We covered the past, we covered the present, the last few years, we've covered where we're going in the future. Is there anything else that you two want to say or add?
I can't wait to be a reader, listener. I mean, yeah. And thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, Kristen?
No, just really grateful that we connected with you way back when we did, and particularly grateful to see what you're doing now. And when you need a cheerleader or support or anything, like, where to find me, and I got your back, girl.
Yeah. And I'm grateful that you two came on to talk to me about this, that we could share the story from our perspectives. I know that there's a fan base that's been around for a while, and they're going to wonder, and then there's new people that are going to come in and hear the messaging. And I think that it's important that they know where we came from, and that anything that we're able to accomplish moving forward is because of the work that you two did in a field that was difficult at best and was very different than it is currently. So even though some people may look at the work now and be like, oh yeah, everybody's saying that sort of stuff now, no one was saying any of this before. So grateful to the two of you and to Erin and to all the FBGs over the years who have built this foundation that we'll be working from as we move forward. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Full circle, hard hands.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Fit Bottom Girls podcast. But don't worry, we're dropping new episodes every Thursday. In the meantime, head over to the show notes for all the links from today's episode, or go to fitbottomedgirls.com/podcast to catch up on past episodes. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.